Hello, Kylie. How are you doing today?
Great, Phoebe. Doing really good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, wow, it's a pleasure to have you. And viewers, welcome to our podcast. This is Talk to Phoebe podcast, where we explore leadership, innovation, business transformation, and people driving the meaningful change. I'm your host, Phoebe, and today I'm excited to welcome Kylie Patrick Smith, founder and CEO of HRKyle Services. Kylie brings more than 25 years of corporate HR leadership experience after beginning his career in sales and customer services. Today, he helps organizations navigate workforce transition, organizational structuring, executive recruiting, leadership development, employee engagement, and strategic HR initiative. He's also a respected speaker, author, thought leader, and host of multiple workplace-focused media platforms, helping leaders navigate everything from employment law, workforce planning to AI and the future of work. Kylie, you're welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Phoebe. It's great to be here.
All right. So let me even tell you how the podcast is going to go. It's going to go in three parts. First of all, we'll start with your background and the industry trend you're seeing. We'll look at your current challenges and where you want HR Kylie services to be in 1 year. Then we'll wrap up by exploring any necessary step if it makes sense. So it's a conversation. It's not an interview. So relax and let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Kylie, before becoming an HR leader, you started your entrepreneurial journey selling candy door to door at the age of 9.
I did.
Looking back, what lesson from those early experiences still influence how you lead today?
I think the biggest thing is just being persistent, having a goal, having a vision and pushing through it, realizing sometimes you get a little bit of pushback and so on. But if you are consistent and set your mind to something, more than likely you're going to be successful with it.
I believe that 100%. You spent 10 years in sales and customer service before moving into HR. How did that shape your understanding of people and organizational success?
Yeah, a big part of that's a great question. Big part of that was about collaboration. I learned truly the importance of being able to collaborate. And again, I worked my way through my undergraduate and graduate school in customer service roles. So that's where that came from. But I was successful in those roles because no matter who was on the other end of the line, I was looking to work with them to solve whatever the problem was, whatever the issue was. If they wanted to buy something or if they had something they wanted to return or whatever it was, I wanted to work with that person in a collaborative manner. I didn't see it as adversarial or any sort of a pushback. I realized they had a problem and maybe I could be the solution for them. And, really honed those skills and the ability to really think on my feet and talk at the spur of the moment and be a little bit surprised by what, the next person might bring to me. So it really created a lot of important skills as I moved into human resources and everything that meant.
That's great. Okay, throughout your career, you've worked with organizations during both growth and crisis. What one lesson about leadership that has remained constant?
Yeah, the biggest thing with that is with leaders being legitimately and honestly visible. I found that to be one of the most effective ways for leaders to make a difference in those situations. Like you say, either it's a growth situation where we're growing rapidly as an organization, or we're in sort of a workforce change, maybe even a workforce crisis. Where I've seen leaders step up, be honest and visible to their employees, I've seen those organizations work through those situations much more successfully.
Yeah, awesome. So let's go to the next segment. You've advised organizations through layoff, organizations closure, workforce transition. What separates leaders who navigate those moments well from those who don't?
Really the ones that stay flexible. If you're an individual, if you're an employee, ask questions, find out what does this change mean to me?
Yeah.
And then take the necessary steps. And as much as you can as an employee, I encourage employees to do this, track where your organization's going. So these situations aren't a surprise to you.
Yeah.
Because when we look back on these situations, if we're on the receiving end of some of this, we find that the red flags, the indicators, the data points, they were there. When we say, oh my gosh, I should have known this was happening, I could see all this. Start doing your due diligence then, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out. Ask the questions. What does this mean to me? How is this affecting the organization?
Yeah.
so you can act accordingly. And either you're making yourself valuable to the organization that you're with through what they're going through, or you're preparing yourself to take that next step in your career, which probably is not in that organization, it's someplace else.
Awesome. That's very great. So what's the biggest mistake organization make during layoff or restructuring effort?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I see with, if it's an individual, if we're talking about the person that's impacted by that, they wait too long to take action. And again, I mentioned about seeing, okay, here, we know this is coming. If you know it's coming, start your job search then. Start doing your networking, start doing all that things. That doesn't mean necessarily you're going to change jobs at that point, but you're putting yourself in a position to do that. And if it truly is a surprise and you're truly impacted by that change in some way, then get right to your job search immediately. Don't wait. Go through your decompression, make sure you process your emotions correctly and appropriately and thoroughly through what's happened. But get at your job search as soon as possible, because the people that I've found that have been impacted by layoffs and these other changes, who've been successful going forward, are the ones that have moved to that next step quicker, versus those who have been impacted and they take 2 or 3 weeks and they're still upset about what happened, and then they're still trying to figure it out and they haven't started. Those are the ones that longer term struggle to find newer jobs. They struggle to make the transition. So my advice is get through that transition, process those emotions quickly and efficiently, and get to your next step.
Oh, that's awesome. So when workforce reduction becomes necessary, how should leaders communicate with employees?
Over communicate, give as much information as possible, answer questions, and most importantly, Phoebe, let their employees know, what does this mean to me? Because what I see leaders do a lot of times is they talk all this big talk. Well, in this process, this is going to mean our organization is going to be this and our organization is going to be that and this is that. Employees during those times, they don't care about that nearly as much as they care about, what does this mean to me, my job, my income, my livelihood? Those are what employees want to hear about. Certainly you share with them the big picture about what it means to the company and all of that process. But ultimately you have to get to the conversation of saying, Phoebe, as a result of this, what's happening here, here's what this means to you. You've got to get to that. Because ultimately, that's what Phoebe most cares about.
Yeah, of course. Honesty. That's very great. So what does a well-executed workforce transition look like from the start to finish?
Yeah. For one, it starts well before it's actually executed. That's first and foremost. So we're starting, at least 6 to 12 months before it even happens, if not more. And the other thing that we're thinking about throughout this is we're already working on our communications, meaning our communications about communicating before, during, and after. And again, we're focusing on this message of what does this mean to me, meaning what does it mean to that individual employee? And we're focusing on the fact that employees are going to be concerned. They're going to be nervous. Even if it's a wonderful situation, there's going to be a group of your employees that are going to be concerned from a negative standpoint what it means. And we've got to understand what are the potential fallout before, during, and after, because there's a good chance either way we're going to lose talent, we're going to lose people, all that's going to, so we've got to plan for that accordingly. And if we can take the steps to protect ourselves from that, we're going to do that. So again, you notice the way I'm talking, there's a lot of front end to this. There's a lot of time and effort devoted to the before, because my experience tells me, and how we work with our clients, if we can really cover a lot in the before, we're going to do much better the during, and especially the after. And when we talk about after, Phoebe, we need to be thinking 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months after. Because a lot of times during these transitions, some of the most damaging impact happens after. We start losing people that we didn't need to lose. We let people go that we shouldn't have let go. So we're doing a lot of front end work here from a planning standpoint, especially about the people, that covers the during and the after.
Okay, that's a great answer. So after layoff, that's the next question. Anyway, after a layoff or major organizational change, trust often takes a hit. How can leaders rebuild trust with their remaining workforce?
Again, you've got to be honest. You've got to explain to your employees, one, here's why this happened. So employees, we went through this. This is why it happened. And take ownership of it. Because what I find so many times is CEOs and leaders, they don't take ownership of the problems. They're ultimately the cause of that problem. So take ownership of it. But most importantly, let your employees know what's the plan going to be going forward. Because how many times have we seen a layoff, all this change, and nobody tells us what the plan is going forward? Well, what that tells me is they're going to go with the same plan. Well, that plan didn't work the first time. I can assure you it's not going to get any better after we laid 10,000 people off. So we've got to communicate to our workforce, and we've got to say, again, I'll use Phoebe as an example. Phoebe, we've gone through this reduction. These number of people were impacted. Here's why it happened. I take ownership of it. These were bad decisions on my part. Here's what we're doing from a goals and aspiration standpoint in the direction of this company going forward. Here's going to be our business plan. Here's what it's going to look like for every one of these groups going forward. And by the way, you'll notice, Phoebe, that it's different from what we did before because we learned that that wasn't working.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's very good. So what role does transparency, though I know if you answer that, what role does transparency play in maintaining culture during uncertain times?
Yeah, it's the most important thing. If we had to just pick out one thing, that transparency as much as possible is the most important thing. Because if nothing else, employees can say, you know what, I may not like what's happening, but at least I know what's happening.
Yeah, awesome. That's very great. So what's the warning sign that the organization is losing employee trust?
When employees stop voicing their opinions, when they start speaking up, when they stop asking questions, when those things stop. And I always tell leaders, anytime we see changes in our workforce, we've got some sort of a problem. We've either got it at an individual level, we've got a group level or something. So where we see changes like that to where employees used to be very engaged, they used to ask a lot of questions, they used to attend a lot of events, they used to do this. If we're seeing changes from a behavioral standpoint in our employee base, we've lost trust. No question about it.
So how can leaders stabilize morale and performance after major workforce changes?
I think it's got to be visible. It's be visible though, Phoebe, from a formal standpoint. Certainly the meetings, you bring your workforce together and you're talking to them in a formal basis.
Yeah.
But I never discount the informal. The walking around the building, walking around the facility, talking to people, seeing employees, asking how they're doing, asking questions. Checking also, and I'm a big believer in this, checking with your advocates, your ambassadors, because every company has them, whether they're formal or informal. Check with them. And maybe Phoebe's an ambassador. We go up to Phoebe, I'm a leader, and I say, Phoebe, I've walked around and I've heard some things, but I want to check with you too. What are some of the things that you're hearing from your coworkers that we're doing well and that we're not doing well? So that formal is certainly important, the formal messages, whether it's verbally, whether it's in writing or whatever. But don't discount that informal as well.
That's great. So we're going to the next question now, which is about AI and the future of HR. AI is rapidly changing how organizations hire, manage, and develop talent. What opportunities are you most excited about?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things. AI is so integral to what even we do in this organization now. It blows my mind. I would be hard pressed to find something in an organization where we're not relying on AI, just to be blunt with you. So we're huge advocates of it. But we're also careful because we know that we're still the ultimate source of approval for anything AI-wise. And we also audit our systems regularly to see for any sort of issues or concerns or just see what the outputs are, right? So we do that. But where I'm most excited about is we as an organization, or as a function, I should say, HR, we need to get back to being better communicators. We're terrible at communication. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
HR has become terrible at communication with employees, with candidates, past employees, future employees, potential employees. We've gotten terrible at that. My hope, and something I'm really advocating for in my profession, is that as a profession, we utilize AI more to get better at, to improve on our communication again.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So what are leaders getting wrong about AI adoption in HR today?
Yeah, they're putting the cart before the horse. That's why we're seeing organizations moving forward with downsizing and then realizing 6 months, 12 months later, they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
What they need to focus on is two things, because this is what AI is ultimately about. AI is ultimately about two things: increasing efficiency and enhancing decision-making, period, end of discussion. And we're not seeing a lot of leaders realize that as they go through the process of determining where AI fits into their organization. Notice I didn't say it's about eliminating employees. It's not about, it has nothing to do with that. It's about enhancing efficiency and enhancing decision-making.
That's great. Okay, that's awesome. So how should organization balance automation with maintaining real human connection?
So what we realize is if we use AI correctly, it's going to enhance human connection. So I mentioned about using it in HR because we could talk about AI through any function in an organization. I'm going to have to limit it to HR because that's all the time we have.
Yeah.
So it's going to help us, and it is helping us be more effective communicators, right? So we can make sure that the message that we want to deliver, we run it through AI and say, make this clearer, make it make sense, simplify it. So we use it for that, right? We use it for automatic systems. So let's say someone applies to one of our jobs and we want to make sure they know we got their resume and we're reviewing it. Well, we use AI to respond to them. And let's say, for example, as we process their resume, we're no longer interested and we need to disqualify them. Well, we can use AI to communicate that message. Let's say we've got an employee group and we know they have questions, some of them basic about open enrollment. We have an AI bot set up that can answer those basic questions and determine if a question warrants a person responding. So then we're quicker with our answers. We're more accurate with our answers. We're more consistent with our answers. And where a person truly needs personal attention relative to those benefits decisions, for example, I'm freed up because I have more time to be able to give my attention to that rather than answering for the 20th time when open enrollment is, which a machine could do that. So there are a lot of examples like that to where we can replace routine communication. We can make sure communication's happening. We talked about that. And we can make sure that communication is delivering the kind of messages that we want it to. We may write a communication and think, oh, this is crystal clear. But we could run it through a system and the system says, I really don't know what you're trying to say. And AI can do that. And AI has the capability to do that now. So those are a few of the ways. And to me, again, coming back to where I started, the biggest difference, and there's a bunch, but the biggest difference for HR is communication.
That makes sense, because as technology evolves, people expectations also evolve too. So let's look at that. What do employees expect from an organization today that they didn't expect 10 years ago?
The biggest thing is more information, quicker responses, detailed information, easy access to information. Those are a few of the things that I know that employees are expecting. And ironically enough, with all the technology as a profession, HR has gotten worse at it. I really feel like if we go back to earlier in my career, as a profession, we were much better at some of these things than I think we are now. And it's so ironic because now we have more tools than ever to do those things.
Okay, that's great. So why are so many companies struggling with employee engagement?
Because they're forgetting why employees work. Employees work so they can have a life outside of work. Very few people live to work. They work to live. And I think too many companies have forgotten about that. They've gotten away from that. Gone are the days when employees live to work. And we got away from that because we've realized as employees that companies aren't as loyal as they used to be. And again, if a company's not loyal, then the employees aren't going to be loyal. So we have to shift our mindset as employers to say, this person's working to live. They're working so they can support their family, so they can pay their loans, they can buy a nice car, they can take a trip every so often, they can have fun on the weekends. That's why employees work. And we've got to, as employers, realize that and structure the environments so they fit that. And again, I'm not saying allow employees to be lazy or these things. We still have to have a structure around it. But we can't forget that they're not living to work. And we have to interact with them as such. We have to treat them as such. And I think we'd be well served to introduce more decency back into the workplace, more respect, more camaraderie back into the workplace, because I think we've gotten away from that a little bit too much.
I agree with you. So how can an organization create a workplace where people genuinely want to stay and contribute?
Well, it's a funny thing. I've found that when I ask employees what they're looking for and what they want in a workplace and they tell me, and then I put those things in place, the funniest things happen, Phoebe. People like to stay in those kind of places. I can't imagine why. You ask them, they tell you, and then you try as much as possible to do that. They tend to want to stay. And again, companies make this too difficult. If I want to know why Phoebe likes working here or what might make her like working here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask her. And then I'm going to try to follow through on that as much as I can. And if I can't, I'm going to go to Phoebe and say, Phoebe, I know you said that you only want to work 2 hours a week and get paid for 40. We can't do that.
Yeah,
However, we can do this.
that's great. That's okay. So, what trends are shaping the future workforce that leaders need to be prepared for now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're still, this is going to sound like a broken record because we're hearing this a lot, but I'm finding that leaders aren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
They're still not prepared for the fact that people more than ever want flexibility. They want flexibility in their work hours, their work locations, the kind of benefits that we offer, the kind of work environments that we offer. Employees now more than ever want flexibility. And the thing is, we've got the tools. We've got all the tools in place to allow for that. The only holdback is leaders are either resistant to it or they're unaware of it.
Yeah, that's great. So let's go to the next segment. What are organizations getting wrong when it comes to hiring senior leaders?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, what are we looking for in a senior leader? So many organizations, and we work with companies on this on filling these type of positions all the time. And what I ask them is, what are you looking for? And what I want to hear in that answer, and I've got a job description in front of me, I don't want to hear just requirements and preferred qualifications. I want to hear what they're looking for from a character standpoint. What are they looking for from a mindset standpoint? What are they looking for from a leadership style standpoint? And too often we don't focus on that. And what I also see is in so many, for those positions, so often we lean on assessments. So we go and we ask a piece of paper or a web application to help us hire an executive leader, but we don't just talk to that person and say, Phoebe, tell me a little bit about your leadership style. Tell me a little bit about what's important to you in an organization. Tell me a little bit about it. And just share those stories, because what we know is the best predictor of future performance is past performance in the same or similar situation. So let's have a conversation and find out how this person thinks and how they function and determine whether that's a good match for what we're looking for.
Awesome. So, what separates a successful executive placement from one that ultimately fails?
You know, the biggest difference is just understanding the person's story. One of the things that I ask most candidates this, I'll say something to the effect of, I'll say, Phoebe, I've got your resume here and I can see all the things that you've done. But what I'd really like to know is, tell me the story behind the resume. And then I let that person talk. And they tell me the story about why they chose their profession and why they chose a particular employer, and why they left an employer, and why they stayed, and why they did all these things. And I get the true story behind their career, because again, if I can see their story, it's going to give me a pretty good predictor of where they're going. And the other thing is, we ask people, what are you wanting to do next? And we do a funny thing. We take their answers based upon everything we hear, and we take it to heart. Because I find a lot of people interview and then they question the answers they're given. Well, that tells me they're not a very good interviewer.
Yeah. Okay. So, how important is cultural fit compared to experience and technical expertise?
Yeah. You know, if we've got to rank these, I'm going to put cultural fit ahead of those other things. I am. And I live this every day. I run my own company here. So I live that every day. I'm looking for people that fit our culture. When we interview, and I don't even interview. I've stopped interviewing a long time ago, but I have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
And the things that I talk about and that I want to understand is, how does that person think? Where do they do their best work? Right? Where are they going to thrive? Where have they done their best work in the past? I want to know those things. And I want to know how they think about people and how they think about relationships and how they think about collaboration and working together and all those things. I want them to tell me all the stories around that, because that's going to tell me if they're going to fit into our organization, because they're going to have to fit culturally, because that experience and all that other stuff, that means nothing. It means nothing if they don't fit. Because the other thing I know is, I can hire somebody that fits into our culture and I can teach them a lot of what we do. And that person's going to do much better than the person that had all the experience but doesn't fit.
Okay. That's very good. So, what advice would you give a leader competing for top talent in today's market?
Yeah. Get out there. See who the up and comers are. You know, do your networking. I see so many leaders that lead from a chair, and that's just not effective. Get out there. Look around your workplace first. You know, so many leaders don't look inside first.
Yeah.
And that always flabbergasts me. They'll hire this person that's very well qualified. They hired them because they think they're the best person. But then when they look to who to promote, they go outside somewhere. So get out there, understand your workforce, network, look around. Who are your competitors and who are their top flyers? Is that someone that could come to your organization? But you got to get up out of this chair and get to meet people and learn them. And don't think you're too good to do that. Because unfortunately, I come across a few leaders that think once they've reached this chair, this is a throne now. And if you're going to work for me, you're going to come here and you're going to kiss my ring. That's
Yeah.
not leadership.
Agree. So let's go to another segment, leadership, legacy, and impact. You often emphasize that how organizations treat people during their hardest moment matters. Why is that principle so important to you?
Because I found that people show their true colors during the hardest times of their lives.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think I came up with that. I know Abraham Lincoln spoke about that a lot, especially with when he was leading our country through the U.S. Civil War. He talked about that. But certainly as you study leadership, you find that people, leaders, they show their true colors during the most difficult times. And I've always joked, but it's true. Anybody can drive a car straight. Anybody can lead when a company's doing well. You can get any idiot to do that. But you're going to find out about a person's true character. You're going to find about their true caliber and their leadership skills when things aren't going well.
Awesome. All right. So what leadership qualities do you believe are most needed today?
I'm going to come back to what I said. I think it's respect. I think we've gotten away from that too much in these workplaces. Leaders especially. I think sometimes they get in these big roles and they think that means something. What it really means is you have a lot of people counting on you to do your best. Yeah. To me, there's a lot of responsibility there. I never think of a organizational structure anymore like this. Yeah. I think of it like this, and here I am.
Yeah.
And it's up to me to do this. And I think too many leaders still think this way. Like this is the organization is supposed to support me. No, it's this way.
Right, I agree.
And if this goes well, then it's everybody did it. If it goes poorly, it's my fault.
Yeah, that's a very good one. So let's zero in on HRKyle services now. So what is working well for you right now, and what is being frustrating in HR? Company.
What's working well is, I think, staying true to who we are as an organization. And me, my team, what I love about this group of people that work here is, and I said this when I started this, I don't want to supervise anybody anymore. I don't want to supervise. And I don't. I've got people that are part of this organization that are smart, that are driven, that know what they're supposed to do. They got lots of experience in their areas because that's something that we put a premium on here. Yeah. We don't just talk about HR. We've actually worked it, and we've worked these other functions as well. That's what we're doing well. We know who we are, and we continue to carry that torch. And we don't talk a lot of fancy language. We don't do a lot of fancy things, but what we do is we do what we say we're going to do. We keep our promises. We do our best work. We give people practical advice. If we don't think we can help you, we'll tell you that too. We try to get you to people that can do some of the things. We've got a good network. Some things that we're not good at, benefits, compensation. We've got people that we trust that we can refer you to. So we've stayed true to who we are. We'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to add people that are true to who they are, and they have the experience. So when they meet with someone with a challenge, they can tell the person first and foremost, I've been through that. I've seen that before. That's important. The things that we struggle with, I think we struggle with the same things a lot of organizations that are newer struggle with. We're still trying to build a consistency. We want to consistently see growth. We know the opportunities there, but we want to continue to strive for that. We want to make sure we've got a structure here that can support that growth. We know that. We can see all the growth in the world, potential, but if you don't have the structure in place to meet that, it's not going to happen. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're consistent. We're consistently flexible with our structure to be able to grow towards where we want to be. And again, I wouldn't call that a struggle. I think it's a challenge, but it's a challenge at every new and early developing company. That's what we're going to go through.
Okay, awesome. So how do you measure success in the company right now?
Yeah, bottom line, I keep it simple for everybody. Success is revenue. Success, and I'll even go a little bit further. Success is net income. We all know it. We're all measured by it. Every person in this company, I don't care what the role is, we make sure they understand how they contribute to net income, because every role is tied to that. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. So is there any metrics you're focused in improving that net income or making sure people are aligned to it?
Well, again, here's where AI comes in, right? Think about how I described AI. It does two things for us. It makes us more efficient, right? So we're going to, even if our revenue were to stay the same, if we can lower our expenses, we're seeing our net income grow, right? But we're also using it for decision making, just like we should be. Yeah. So we're using it to determine if there's certain things, businesses that we should pursue, or there's certain opportunities we should pursue. Are we doing the right things relative to our business structure, how we do our processes and so on. So we're using the AI tools for efficiency and decision making, just like they're intended. And we have some processes here to where we are regularly questioning all the things that we do to make sure we're doing them again efficiently and the right way.
Awesome. So again, the next question now. So where do you want your company to be in the next 1 year?
I want us to still be the most respected option in the HR consulting force. If we hold that distinction, I'll be happy. Because what I know is, Phoebe, if we do that, everything else will follow, right? We'll be profitable. We'll be helping people. We'll have all those other things that we want to do.
Yeah.
But if we carry that torch that says we are the most respected HR consulting firm in the country,
yeah,
all those other wonderful things that we want, they're going to follow.
So again, how do you tend to get to that point of being the most successful HR company in the country?
Well, it's what I spoke to earlier. It's being clear about who we are, being clear on our mission, vision, and our core values, and staying true to those in what we do and who joins our organization, all of these things. I just met with our recruiting team today, and I told them, and I made it real clear to them, I said they have a lot of freedom in how they do their work, with two exceptions. Everything must be legal and it must be ethical. Beyond that, they can do their work. So we're going to stay true to who we are from a mission, vision, and core values standpoint. And I trust that that's going to help us grow.
Okay, awesome. That's very good. So if you have a magic wand to fix just one thing that's holding you back or slowing you down, what would that one thing be?
Yeah, I'm not a magic wand kind of person. I just don't believe in that because I don't think that's how the world works. And I also don't believe in luck.
Okay.
People say, you're luck. I don't believe in luck.
Okay.
Because I've seen
let me rephrase that.
No, go ahead. Yes.
What is slowing you down right now, or what do you wish you could do better or you can have better?
I don't know if we have enough time to talk about all the things we could do better.
Yeah.
But I want you to know that's my mindset. Everything that we do, I want to look at and say, I think we can do it better.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to my team and say, how can we do that better? How can we get better? And that was a big part of our call today. I mentioned meeting with our recruiting team today. Yeah. That was a big part of our call, bringing them together and say, I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
What are some of yours? What are some of the things that you see we could do better? How can we help you succeed?
Yeah.
And I think if you have those kind of conversations continually in a healthy, productive, positive, respectful way, it's amazing how far your organization can go because it also encourages everyone to get engaged. You asked about engagement earlier. People love to have their opinions asked and then have us follow through on them. It's an amazing thing how much you'd be engaged when someone asks you your opinion, you actually follow through on it. And that's what I'm looking for. I want people to be as excited about this company and what we do as I am.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So who are your typical clients like? Who are your typical clients?
Yeah, our typical client is anywhere from just a startup, could be a one-person startup, up to roughly about 250 or 300 employees. And I'll tell you why I wanted to focus there. Yeah. Because that's a group that too often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
And that's a group, and I can point to this wall over here. I got a bunch of degrees over there for something. I don't know how I got all those, but they're over there. You know where I'm going with this. 25 plus years in corporate HR, some really nice accomplishments along the way, a good education, thank goodness that I worked hard for. Most small companies that I refer to, they don't typically have access to a person like me.
Yeah.
Or my team. They don't typically. So those one person to 300 employee companies, I love working with them because we love each other. I'm bringing something that they're normally not going to have access to through me and my team. And they're appreciating what we do, and we're watching them grow, and we're a big part of that.
Yeah.
And we take that seriously, and we like to build those relationships. So in a nutshell, that's who we love to work with because of that wonderful relationship we can build.
Yeah. So how do you get to those clients of yours?
Yeah, great question. So I'm fortunate. I've been in HR for a long time. You make a lot of great connections. You meet a lot of great people. You build a reputation, which I and my team have built. That we can be trusted, we can be counted on, we know what we're talking, we talk plain language, and we keep our word. And as an organization, we leverage those relationships that we've built over the years. And that's how we grow.
Yeah. So you more or less you still grow organically, right?
Organically. Yeah.
Okay. And you don't have
the other thing too, Phoebe, sorry to cut you off there. We make sure we stay visible. Yeah. You and I have just recently connected, but you see me on a lot of social media. You see our company on a lot of social media. I do a lot of things like this. I love these.
Mhm.
So we try to make sure that we're visible to the people that are important to us and
Yeah.
that we want to work with. Because so often I have this happen literally every day. The person for a year didn't need us, but all of a sudden they need us for something. Like, I'm glad I saw your post today because that made me
Yeah.
think I need to reach out to you. I get a lot of that. We get a lot of that. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
And you never thought of getting kind of a mass lead leads to have more people. You just want to, you have come, let's say, content with organic growth, right? That's what,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
because some people will say, okay, I want more of this. How can I get more? But anyway, since it's not your, interest, that's good anyway. So let me go to the next question. Kylie, if leaders look back on the most difficult decision they've made in their career, what do you hope they remember about how they treated their people?
Well, I'll tell you what, and I hope everybody's listening on this.
Yes,
One thing I've learned is we get through these situations.
yes,
So many difficult situations. We're there and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get through it. This is the end of the end. And my experience tells me that's just not true.
yeah,
You keep pushing away. You keep, there's an old quote from Winston Churchill, and I
yeah.
won't use the exact words. I'll change it a little bit. But he said, when you're going through
Mhm.
keep going.
Yeah,
What that means is you're going to get to the other side.
yes,
Just keep pushing.
yeah.
Keep believing in yourself. Keep getting through that situation. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned through difficult situations. And you looked up my profile a little bit. I didn't have the easiest childhood in the world. So
Yeah.
that taught me, keep pushing, keep going through, keep believing in yourself. And no one else believes in you because you're going to get through it.
Awesome. Kylie, thank you for joining us today and sharing your insight on leadership, workforce transition, HR strategy, talent, and the future of work. One of the biggest takeaway from this conversation is that leadership isn't just measured by results. It is measured by how those results are achieved. And I like that. In other words, increasingly shaped by technology, automation, and changes. Organizations that lead with clarity, respect, honesty, and intentionality will ultimately build stronger culture and stronger business. To everybody listening today, I want to thank you once again. And again, thank you for joining us today. And if everyone that listen to this conversation, you enjoyed this conversation, I'm going to put a Kylie information on the description box. Feel free to get across to him and learn more, because he really has the real deal to share, and I look forward to talking. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kylie. And this is
Thank
Talk
you,
to
Phoebe.
Podcast.
You're wonderful. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye for now. All the best. Bye.